My name is Jason Glardy. I'm the host of Get Good. In this series, I'm joined by the very talented Lindsay. We're going to nerd out over handstands and provide you with a step-by-step game plan to go from beginner to balanced. We cover the why you're doing it, what to do, and how much to do of it.
Welcome to Bail. We highlight that straight arms are safe arms and provide you with a few different strategies to exit a handstand to make sure you're safe at all times. Before we go into handstands, we should probably talk about how to bail.
Most people tend to fall either back toward their feet or toward their back. Falling back toward your feet, so falling the way you came, isn't very scary. You can see the ground, it's right there, so there's not much to worry about. What most people are afraid of is falling over toward their back, because then it's a blind landing. You can't see what's behind you. A lot of people are worried about landing flat on their back.
I've seen that many times.
So learning how to fall properly will eliminate the risk of landing flat on your back, which will reduce a lot of the fear.
And make training more fun, probably.
Yeah, things are a lot more fun when you feel in control and safe. I'm just gonna demo the safest ways to fall. The first way is the least scary, is when you don't kick up hard enough or don't jump up hard enough and you just fall back down toward your feet. So let's say I were to kick up to a handstand, I only made it that far. I just come back to my feet, I can see the ground, so I look where my foot is gonna go, and then I just put my foot there. Super easy. Let's say I'm up in a handstand and I start to fall that way. I just split my legs and come down. Super easy, nothing dangerous there. The dangerous part comes in when you start to fall toward your back. So I'm gonna demo the right way to do this, and then I'm not gonna show what you don't wanna do because I don't wanna hurt myself, but you don't wanna do, if you're in a handstand and you start to fall toward your back and you press into your fingertips and you can't save it, you cartwheel out of it. So that is the safest way to come down if you're starting to fall toward your back. So what you might want to practice first is just a cartwheel. If you know how to do a cartwheel, it's going to make it a lot easier. And then from there, you can practice doing a cartwheel, but going through a handstand. So what you're going to do is you're going to handstand, twist, and cartwheel. So you're just going to go through that handstand position. So you're going to handstand, cartwheel out of it. Not trying to hold the handstand, not trying to balance. If you don't have a spotter handy and you don't feel comfortable practicing the cartwheel bail on your own, you can also use the wall. So the same way we used the wall before, I'm just gonna stack the back of our upper back of our head, all up against the wall. I'm gonna kick up into a handstand, and then from here, you can just practice cartwheeling out with the wall there to support you. You can also do this with your belly to the wall, but again, when you have your belly to the wall, there is that risk of falling toward your back, which is what we're trying to avoid. So if you do use your belly to the wall, you can be here, and then from here, just practice that cartwheel out.
I've seen this firsthand, and I've seen strong people, when they're going over, bend their arms thinking they can recover with their strength, and they normally stack it and end up in a really bad position.
Yeah.
So one of my first coaches used to always say straight arms are safe arms.
Yes.
So I think that's something really important to consider. It's, if you're straight, you buy more time.
Yes.
If your arms bend, you can potentially end on your neck.
Right, because what happens with straight arms is that they can bear a lot more weight.
Yeah.
That's why we rely on joint stacking instead of like muscles fatigue. So if I had bent arms, now there's no stability here and I'm having to use my triceps a lot more, and those are gonna get tired. Whereas if I lock out, I can stay here all day. When we do bail, we do want to keep those straight arms to minimize any risk of anything hitting the ground.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where, like, when fear kicks in,
Yeah.
you just do whatever you think will help, and sometimes it's not the best thing.
Right.
It's hard for a beginner to differentiate between what's truly advanced. So if you see a normal handstand, or you see someone walking a handstand, I might see that and be like, hey, that person walking is doing something harder.
Right. A lot of people think that handstand walking is more difficult than hand balancing, which it's not, because with handstand walking, there's less control that you need of your body because you're moving your balance point under you.
Sure.
So instead of having to be aware and keep everything balanced over one spot, if something moves, you just walk and catch it. And it's just this constant catching of yourself instead of true like balancing.
So it's like recovering from a failed rep.
Yeah.
Can you show
Just
what recovering from a failed rep looks like?
Yeah, so you see a lot of people who don't really understand the proper like awareness or engagement of the hands. They'll handstand, and then when they start to fall, they'll just walk under and catch it until they find that spot.
Yeah.
And they're kind of loose, you know, the hips are moving around. They're not really like engaged, and they just sort of keep it up, but with no real like...
You still find a way to make it look advanced.
With no real like balance or awareness.
Sure. I think that's really important because in the first one we touched on desired outcome. And this sort of is a highlight of when you don't have that. You may actually start hand walking, and then when someone says, hey, you got to do it straight now, you just go back to square one.
Yeah. And I mean, handstand walking is a skill in its own right.
Yeah, got it.
It's something to practice separate from hand balancing. You don't want to get the two mixed up because then you develop a habit that becomes really hard to break. If you're really used to walking to catch your handstand, then when you do go and try to balance, you're going to be really tempted to just start walking instead of fighting for that balance.
Got it. We're going to break away from the wall and start to do handstands on our own.
When that thing that you're practicing that you can nail 70-80% of the time becomes something that you can nail 100% of the time, then it's time to level up.